All right, we're live this week. We got Sasha Palatnikov, the homie from Hong Kong, but
Yeah.
now he's not from Hong Kong. He's from Las Vegas. He's a trader. No, I'm just kidding. He ain't no trader. He's all good. He's good.
Come on now, come on. I would not be able to leave Hong Kong if I was still there, unfortunately.
That's hey, yo. I know exactly what you're talking about, man, because some people that I know that's in Hong Kong right now, they're talking about it's a prison out there. So
Mm-hmm.
you're better off in Las Vegas. Actually, you're better off anywhere in the world
Yeah, at
besides
the
Hong
same
Kong.
time, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For
So so like let's just jump right into it, man. This main event, when they announced it, everybody was expecting a certain type of fight. You look at the highlight reels of Ankalaev and Santos, you
Mhm.
just see knockout after knockout after knockout, spectacular knockout. So you'd figure, hey, they're gonna go in there and probably knock each other out. That's us fans thinking the best of
For
of
sure.
both fighters in the main event, right? And then when you really look deep into it and you start to read about like what the analysts say and what the guys that break down the fight, both guys are kind of really on the back foot counter striker type fighters. So this could have been what this fight turned out to be, which is what it happened. 25 minutes. A lot of people said that it was boring. They didn't like this fight at all. There were some moments in the fight that it got pretty dicey for each guy, right? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I thought it was an all right fight. I expected the fight to not go past maybe the third round. I would have thought that one of these guys would have sparked the other guy real quick, but it didn't happen, man. Sasha, I know you get into some of these fights pretty deep, man. What did you think? What was your thoughts before the fight? Let's get into that.
To be honest with you, I thought it was gonna be one of those kind of fights. Thiago seems to always fight on the back foot. He has lately in the I guess the latter part of his career, more recent part, he has fought. I mean, since like the Jones fight was exciting, but he tends to kind of back up and then be explosive and just give a barrage of strikes and then eventually puts people out that way. But with Ankalaev, I think they both kind of respected each other's power so much to the point where like it was a flinch game. It was a chess game where it was kind of like who was going to bite on the fakes first, and both of them were biting on each other, and you could see, Ankalaev was kind of cruising, and he felt, he was controlling the ring, and usually with a lot of the judges nowadays, if you're controlling the ring, you're already like up on the scorecard. So Ankalaev landed a couple nice like hooks, clean straight lefts. I thought that kind of Thiago was like, oh shit, like we're worried here, and then that end of that second round, all it took was one shot that was like, just skimmed the top of his head, and he went down, and he was like, oh shit, 1-1 going into the third. So Ankalaev definitely like faced some adversity for sure, because I mean, some people don't go out of they don't last when Thiago hits. So the fact that he was able to recover and come back and get back to the ring control, I thought was it just shows you like the level that Ankalaev is fighting at. He's fighting against a very live dog, like and a guy that can just put you out with one shot. So Ankalaev fought him very cautiously. I know us fans wanted to see somebody go, night night, but it was a efficient day at the office for Ankalaev. He seemed to come out of there pretty healthy. I didn't think he got hit with anything too crazy. So it sets him up for another, potential, contender fight or even title. So it'll be interesting to see, how Dana and see where they go for the next one for him.
Yeah, for sure. And if you guys are watching live, make sure you hit that subscribe, that like, the share, comment. If you have any questions for Sasha, for anything about the fights, just put your thoughts in the comments. We'll get to those. And if you're watching the replay, same thing. Hit that subscribe, like, and all that good stuff. Yeah. When you look at the stats, right? After the fight, we always like to point at the stats because if you didn't like the decision, then the stats become more important, right? Like if the
Mhm.
decision was great, you know what I mean? Like if it was like the proper decision, no one really looks at the stats. They're just like they just skim over them. But when you look at it, Ankalaev, I got the stats from ESPN.com, and Ankalaev landed 114 out of 191 strikes. That's a
Mhm.
pretty good percentage, man.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
solid, right? And
Mhm.
uh and the significant strikes was 78 out of 155. Head strikes, he landed 33, body 35. So he landed more shots to the body than he did to the head. So he was that maybe that was part of his game plan, is to open him up.
Mhm.
Because if you look into like maybe the fourth round or the third round, Santos was really he was really like leaning into like covering his body a lot. Like he was worried about the kicks to the body. And
Yeah.
did he get hurt in the first or second round to the body?
I don't think it was to the body he was getting clipped, but like consistently he was throwing body kicks whenever he would like circle out an angle, he would throw that left body kick. And I'm a huge proponent in that. It takes time to slowly chip away, and you could see in that fourth round transitioning into the fifth, Santos looked pretty damn tired. And you would have thought because he had the championship round experience, maybe it would have been Ankalaev, maybe he was huffing and puffing. But when you looked at both corners, you could see who was more tired, and just the body language. I think Paul Felder mentioned it. You could see like the judges see that, and he was the whole time on the back foot on the cage. And I just thought I thought he put an efficient performance. He used his tools wisely, like you said, going high, going to the body, and it was an efficient performance. I wouldn't say it was the most exciting, but it was definitely an efficient one.
Yeah, when you get to that level, top 10, top 5, the win is more important than
For
anything.
sure. For sure.
Like it doesn't matter how you win, the win is important, because you've seen guys win split decisions, controversial split decisions, and get a title shot off that. Because the UFC really doesn't care. If they want to push you into that spot, they're going to push you into that spot. And you mentioned earlier that Ankalaev had a very intelligent performance, and I thought so too. I thought he played it really intelligent, because Santos is dangerous no matter what. He might not be the Santos that we saw like heading into the John Jones fight. I
Yeah.
don't feel like that Santos is here anymore. I feel like
No.
that was the best Santos we saw, where he was just a berserker, where he was just in there just
Mhm.
clobbering fools. And then the John Jones fight and the injuries that came from that fight, I feel like that kind of maybe declined him physically. I don't know about mentally, because we don't know what the mind of a fighter at all. We don't know what's inside their head, but physically it doesn't seem like he's moving like he did
For
ahead of
sure.
that. So he is still explosive, but not like he was
I agree.
ahead of the John Jones fight, right?
Yeah, I mean, John Jones seems to now have that effect on people. When you go through John Jones, you come out kind of washed up. You get broken down, and it seems to be, with Reyes as well as now, Santos, requiring two massive knee surgeries and coming back from that. That's an achievement in itself, and coming back from that is tough. And I think John, the argument can be, but he is the GOAT in my opinion, and he's just such a dangerous human being to face. So it's just one of those things that you start to kind of see, and you're just like, wow, that's how impressive John Jones actually is.
Yeah, and you're right, man. It's like he's like the curse. And the only person that hasn't got cursed by him was DC. Even though DC lost to him twice, still after that DC actually did better, what I mean,
True.
than he did. So yeah, the rest of the guys, it's weird, right? It's just weird how fighting is, and like stylistic matchups, and like the I guess the pressures of certain fights, and it kind of brings out the best in certain fighters, and then afterwards they're just not the same anymore. But I'm still thinking Dominic Reyes can come back. I feel like Dominic Reyes, he still has something left in the tank. I think he's in Vegas now, right? He's based out of Vegas. You see him
Yeah,
around?
I've seen him at Extreme. I'm not sure if he's like full time in Vegas,
Mhm.
but there was a period, I think, leading up to Sean Strickland's last fight. They were
Yeah.
getting rounds, and he was training. So yeah, no, I mean, I've always liked Reyes as well. He, before his title shot, he was fighting very well. I thought he fought so well against John Jones too, and would love to see him, get back out there and get back to his old self. But we'll see. We'll see.
For sure. Jamie, he's in the comments. He's saying he's just stopping by to wish Sasha good luck on your next fight. We'll talk about that later, man. We'll get into that. Your next fight. We'll have to do a mini interview
There
on
we go.
that, right? We'll see. We'll see what
So,
happens. And he also shout out Song Yadong. Yeah, Song Yadong. We'll get to him in a second. Dane, saw your tweets online. The broadcast superstar. Appreciate that. Kevin. What's up, Kevin? Santos's knees, he looked good through 3 rounds, but in the fourth, he started standing more upright, less flex posture with knees, slower in out and lateral movement. That's a good assessment, Kevin. Kevin is a physical therapist, so he's like really covers the sport from that kind of angle. So he really watches like the movement, and he's really good at catching things. Yeah, you're right, Kevin. That's probably what, if I watch the fight again, that's what I'd probably look for now, since you said that. Like watching the fight like in real time, it's hard to like just, I'm jealous of people that could catch certain things, like little intricacies, like watching the fight live. You know what I mean? It's like
Sure.
you really have to focus. So, like guys like Kevin, everybody has a different lens to watching the fight. So let's see where Ankalaev goes from here, right? We got Glover
Mhm.
fighting Yuri in
Mhm.
Singapore, June 11th, I believe, UFC 275. And then you got Rakic. I don't know if he's lined up to fight anybody. Then you got Smith. That's 3 and 4.
Mhm.
I say Ankalaev fights Rakic or Smith, because
Yeah.
that's who's ahead of him, right?
Mhm.
And whoever wins that probably end up
Yeah.
lining up for the next title shot after, Seems like Yuri's like this uncrowned champ right now, but man, you can't count out Glover, man.
I'm
Glover.
not. I'm not.
I
Uh,
know.
I have a. I mean, bro, like I don't think Jury has wrestling. Like yeah, he has. It always seems to be like this. Like guys come out of nowhere with all these flashy KOs and stuff. But like when Glover gets you down, you're not getting up, and it's likely you're going to get submitted. And Glover has very good boxing. The only thing is, it's like just with anyone at that weight, if you get caught with something big, like you'll go down. But you've seen Glover get dropped and just fight through position and get on top and sub guys. Like he is like a champ, and then you got to treat that with the utmost respect. And I think he's gonna still retain the belt, in my opinion. I'm gonna go with the dog on that one. I'm gonna call that early. I think Glover gets it done in Singapore.
Glover has that refrigerator head too, like he has a
It's
big noggin on him.
yeah,
So he could take some shots.
for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
With this division, man, it's kind of clear like who could be lined up next after this title shot in that light heavyweight division. And then let's stick with the light heavyweight division. Khalil. Let's
Bro, I
talk
was
about Khalil, man, a guy that you train with, the guy that is part of your team, and he goes out there, and the thing about Khalil is every shot is like a shotgun going off with
he's
Khalil.
so powerful.
Like that's just so rare, right? Like there's guys that are like slick, flamboyant, accuracy, speed, but Khalil's just shotgun shots going off, dude.
He's a good friend of mine, and Khalil is like such an interesting individual. And it's what's crazy about him physically is he's so, as you said, powerful. He has that shotgun power, but he's so quick too. So it's like when you combine speed and power, it's just destruction. And his ability to hit and kick at such a ferocious intensity is, you can see. I mean, when he landed that body kick on Roberson, he literally, his body lifted off the ground from the kick. Like it's like I've moved around with Khalil, and Khalil's, he goes light with me, of course. And I've been touched by him, and I'm just like, I can't imagine what these guys that are in there will, get hit by, because like you said, it's dynamite. And Khalil's biggest enemy is himself. And like when he's on, and which he has been his last two fights, when everything, we're talking outside of his personal life, and everything is good, and he's on it. The dude's a world beater. Like I don't think he can be beaten. He's one of the most dangerous guys at 205, in my opinion. I'm not just biased. I'm just saying, like, his ability, his skill set, his strength, his power is just scary at 205. And I was talking to Frank about it. I was like, well, who's a good fight for him next? And I think he can be in the top 15 in one more fight. And he's definitely opening his doors to bigger opportunities. And I think it's gonna give him that confidence going into bigger fights on the bigger stages too.
Yeah, he had his chance, a few years back with like Johnny Walker with those types of fights, and he just didn't, get the win. And you see what's happening to Johnny Walker now. I think that he should get a top 15 fight next automatically. I feel like he is a star. I think the UFC could push him pretty easily. You know what I mean? He's been on Rogan already. You know what I mean? Once you've been
Yeah.
on Rogan, like,
He's
the
a Vegas
UFC.
guy too,
Yeah, exactly.
So
So
it's
I look at the top 15. There's Dustin Jacoby sitting at 15. I don't think Dustin
I would,
Jacoby is gonna fight him.
I think that would be a great fight. I
It
think
would be, but I feel like they should just put Dustin against somebody that's ahead of him, like maybe a Vulcan or something like that. I think Khalil, what would be a good matchup? Number 13, Ryan Spann.
Oh, really? Span's 13, huh?
Yeah, he is 13. So I think
Big.
that is stylistically a good matchup. Jimmy Crute would have been another good fight, but
We
Jimmy Crute's
talked about
injured.
Jimmy Crute. We talked about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, but no, that's actually I didn't even know Span was in the rankings. Yeah, that'd be a great fight.
Yeah. Or if they really want to do something, they put the rematch with Walker. Walker sitting at number 12. And that's
Yeah,
good
we also
for,
said that too.
why
I'm sure.
not? Why
I
not?
bet he would want to run that one back too.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. I would like to see those. Yeah, Khalil, man, he's such a that like there's always guys like that, right? There's always guys that have the talent physically, they're just born with it,
Hmm.
so to say, and they just can't put it together, whatever it is outside the cage, or even with like coaches and teams or whatever, man. It just doesn't click for them, even though they're fighting at the highest level. It just
Hmm.
does. They just don't become who they should become. But it seems like Khalil has started to put everything together, like the pieces are together, and he's kind of like embracing. I don't know. It seems like he's embracing his emotions more.
For sure. He's
Because if you,
learning about himself in this
yeah,
time, and just like with anything in life, we go through relationships. We have all kinds of experiences outside of the world of fighting, and I've been there myself. It affects your performances. It affects your mindset. It affects, the way you go into fights or the way you go into training. And people don't see these effects. They only see us when we get in, perform, and then maybe a little bit on social media. But when shit gets rough for us, we're not posting it and letting everyone know about it. And Khalil's been through that, as is everybody. And at that time, he was having some of the biggest fucking demons to deal with, but going through some of the hardest fights that anyone could go through literally in the world, fighting the toughest guys in the world. So, now it seems like he's getting all of his dominoes in order, shuffling them away. He's organized. He knows what he needs to do. He has, like he said in his interview, he has New York City, which is like his creative arty side where he gets to get like escape from the fight life. And then he comes back to Vegas when it's time to get ready to work. And when he's in Vegas, he's only focused on training camp, getting ready to fight. So I think that works great for him. Obviously, the last two performances have been awesome. So I don't think he needs to really do too much to change what he's doing. As long as he's being successful in life, he'll be successful in the cage.
yeah, no matter what, he's like first team all violence. Like people know that no matter what
Yeah, I
happens
mean,
in the
look what he did
next.
to the everyone got upset with him after seeing that, but now they're going to be like, oh, he's just a fucking violent motherfucker. Like,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
gonna love him for it because that's just what it is. He's gonna bring it, and he's not an illegal, dirty fighter. He just does it legally, And yeah, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful performance. He just looked like from the minute he was the dude entered the cage, the posture that he showed, like he was leaned over just staring at him, and I felt like Roberson was uncomfortable with that. He didn't really
hmm
know what was going on, and then the way he just came at it, he was just stalking him the whole fight. And Roberson, after he got hit, it was just like, man. Second round came out, and he was just like, I'm getting kicked off the cage. Like he almost kicked him out of the cage. Like that's how hard he hit him. So it was
yeah,
really impressive. I
yeah.
hope he pushes that too.
Yeah, that kick to the body when he was trying to get up. I was saying to somebody that why is that not utilized more?
I
What I mean?
agree.
That's like a vulnerable position. People are trying to punch, but the kick, it just generates so much more torque, and especially to the body.
Absolutely, and it's legal. I mean, Khalil did it actually on the Ultimate Fighter when he competed. He
Yeah.
finished somebody to the body. I mean, imagine you stuff a takedown, you get to the side, you can kick and knee from there. The ribs are right open. Those are where all the vital organs are. So I agree 100%. Um,
All right, DXJC56. I see that main event put Dan Hooker to sleep early. Big ups to Sasha for stepping. No, he's in England,
he's
so
sleeping.
yeah,
Nah,
he's sleeping most likely. Yeah, he's probably not even watching it. I mean, plus he's in England. You don't want to bother somebody in the
he's getting
weeks
ready
leading
for
up
his
to.
fight this week.
Exactly,
I'll
man.
give him
It's
a
just
break.
Marcus Mustard. Those are some good fights. Yeah, there were some good fights. I think we had like a bunch of finishes straight in a row. That
Super
was just
underrated fight.
crazy.
Super
Yeah.
underrated.
Yeah, that's what happens in the UFC. You get these cards where everybody's like, "Oh, it's a week off for everybody. You don't have to watch these," and then you miss out on
Every
some
week,
crazy fights.
you're always gonna see good fights, in my opinion. Like there's gonna be.
higher low 1000. Santos and McKinney blew wads, one in the fourth and the other in the first respect. Yeah, let's talk about McKinney, man. That guy,
I'm so
his
impressed.
second fight in 2 weeks, and he comes out and just puts the hammers on Drew Dober. And I was surprised Drew Dober survived that.
Me too. I thought that was almost stopped.
Yeah.
He like McKinney was my pick of the litter. That was like my like seesaw battle because I was like, Dober's experience, he's been through so many wars, he knows what's up. But I was like, this McKinney kid, he's just like, he's a bit of an enigma. He's just like a little different. So I was really like, and I know his background, in wrestling. So it's just like you've always got that to rely on. And man, he just came out with those knees. They were just like so unorthodox, just lifted these knees and, took him down, mounted him. And I was just like, I was on my feet, literally. I was on my feet and I was like, let's go, McKinney. Let's get this finished. But, man, all the credit to Drew Dober. I'm also a big fan of Drew Dober. I remember I've been watching him from the beginning of his career in the UFC till now. And, he's just put it together, and the kid just was like, all right, just got to weather the storm, experience, get through it. And McKinney, like Buddy mentioned before, blew his wad. And on 1 week notice, you got to give him a lot of credit. He came in and he tried to get it done, and he was very close to doing it. So I'm not even mad at him. Like now he'll get another go, probably get a good fight, a nice full camp, and I'm sure the UFC really appreciate him taking that on the short notice too.
Yeah, of course, man. Like, I think that's what McKinney's doing. That's his like strategy of just like taking what he can get, and you never know what's gonna happen in a fight. You know what I mean? And it seems like he's young. He's ready to fight anybody at any time, and you never know what one fight can do for your career. It
Absolutely.
can change your life, especially fighting Drew Dober. I believe is he top 15, Drew Dober?
No, he wasn't ranked. He was unranked.
Okay, but he was in the rankings for a while.
Yeah, when he fought Riddell, they were both ranked. So I think he fell out after the Riddell fight, but he's right there. He's like top 20 for sure.
So McKinney, he steps in 2 fights in 2 weeks. I feel like they're gonna probably give him a pretty good matchup coming up here pretty soon. He'll probably want to get back in as soon as possible. But when you get a TKO, how many days do they usually give you for like a suspension, just for cautionary?
Depends, but usually they say like they gauge it on like the violence of the fight, and like I guess like you can say he took some shots, so they might say 60 days, like no contact, but he'll be able to like go to a doctor in like 28 days and be like, oh, I'm good, and then they'll check him and be like, oh, you're good, and then you'll be good to go. Because he seemed all right. He just had like a bloody nose, and he was just more huffing and puffing than anything physical. So I think he'll be cleared to go probably within a month.
It looks like Drew Dober took more damage in that fight than McKinney did.
Yeah, I agree.
And 60 days. It's not. They could be back by the end of the summer. You know what I mean? And fighting again. Who I say like give McKinney Jim Miller.
Yeah.
Why not? Jim Miller likes fighting those prospect guys. McKinney would be a good prospect to fight.
I think so.
Why not?
I don't hate it. That's a good fight.
What about Drew Dober? Where does he go from here?
Drew Dober. I mean, after that performance, does that get him into the top 15? Does that get him a numbered opponent again?
Nah, I don't think so. But I think he could get a numbered opponent because has he fought Diego Ferreira? Because Diego sitting at number 15. Okay. So let me see. Let me check this. But yeah, if Diego's sitting at number 15, Brad, he already fought him. And then Gamrot is at number 13. And then that lightweight division, Armin is at number 12. And he's a killer. And he's at number 12, right?
Potential fight too. Armin.
It's that's a crazy fight. But let's see if has he fought Diego? No, he hasn't fought Diego.
Yeah.
They should line up Diego, man. Because I know Diego was sitting out with like a rib injury or something from his last fight. Mm-hmm. Those injuries are pretty sensitive. So Drew, he gets to 60 days. He'll probably be back. Let's see Diego versus Drew. But I think Diego called out Bobby Green.
Yeah, for Bobby Green. Yeah, true. That's right.
That's a good fight too.
Yeah.
Why not?
That's a nice one. That's a nice fight. Main event, 5 rounds. Why not?
Yeah, that's a really nice one, Bobby Green, man. Who do you think? God damn it, who do you think should win the bonuses? Because I don't know who won the bonuses yet.
Fight of the night, it's got to be McKinney and Dober, I would say. And
Yeah,
then
it's crazy, bro.
performance. I mean, performance I would give to Khalil in my, and then Sadong. Yeah.
So those are
Ooh.
the two performances. Yeah, so Song Yadong
Yeah,
and
I would say Song Yadong, and I mean, maybe
Khalil.
not. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I would say Khalil. I know there was that Cody Brundage guillotine from like comeback, which was pretty cool. But
The first fight of the night, that flying knee in the third
yes,
round when he was
Azamat. Yeah,
losing.
Azamat. Yeah, true. He deserves a bonus.
Yeah, that was
That
a
was
crazy fight, right?
he was down
Tafon was
two and
just
a half.
piecing him up.
Yeah, 2.5 rounds. He was down, and then he just came out. Like, actually, no, he was down 2 rounds, and then he just came out at the beginning of the third and just flying kneed him. I was like, what? That was awesome. That was it was a great fight to start the card. I don't know why they put that right at the beginning. That should have been like, at the end of the prelims. But and then yeah, Guido Canetti, he beat that Moutinho guy pretty handedly. Yeah, the prelims
Yeah,
were good
those
too. Yeah.
yeah, those yeah, the early prelims was really good. I think it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fights in a row that were
Yeah.
finishes.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Cody, he came back from taking a beating. It was kind of similar to like what Drew Dober did. He just did this, he just got the submission. But
Yeah.
Eric Nixick, he tweeted out about Dalcha that
Oh, did he?
he was like, when he was in the guillotine, like he was getting ready to tap. Instead of getting ready to tap, you should be fighting the choke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like your
That's
hand
what
is
I
out
said.
there,
I
but
was like, he was just because he was so gassed. Like, I know what
yeah,
that's
that's
like
crazy.
sometimes. Like when you're
Mhm.
just like trying so hard to get the guy down, you're huffing and puffing, and all of a sudden you're being strangled, and it's like I can't breathe. What the fuck? And then he's a very muscular guy, and Frank and I were talking. We're like, well, that will probably be the game plan. Make him wrestle, use his arm, use his muscles, so that he just is filled with blood. And it got to that point where it was just like such a crazy scramble. Plus, the dude, I think, threw like 45 strikes in the clinch, on the side of this dude's head while he was
Yeah.
trying to get taken down. So that's a lot of energy. And yeah, he didn't even look to defend the guillotine. He was already tapping. But yeah.
Yeah, Brundage, he needed that win too, man. He was coming off a loss in his debut, but he knew that. I remember I talked to him before the fight. I interviewed him, and he was telling me the exact same thing as what happened in the fight. He said, "I got to survive the first like 4 minutes, and then
Yeah.
after that,
Yeah.
I
I'll be
I
good.
could get this win." So he understood like this dude's gonna come out blazing,
Yeah.
just on fire, and then he's gonna gas out, and that's exactly what happened. But then you got to survive those hammers because he was
He
getting hit
was,
with some
yeah.
hard, heavy punches, man.
Yeah.
Um,
So
Canetti,
wait,
dude.
but
Yeah.
one thing. One comment. What is going on with that dude's body, Dalcha? Like his muscles are like on top of muscles. Like they were like his legs and I was just like, what the heck is that? Like he is literally a beast. That dude, like it, I've never seen anyone built like that. Like when I saw his quad, like he just looks different compared to everyone else. Like anatomy wise, it was just the dude is muscular. I wonder what his cardio is like, but man, that was just
What
like,
about old boy in Hong Kong?
oh, Alon.
Yeah, a lot. That dude
Alon,
is a
yeah,
specimen. Come
but
on.
I mean, I've known Alon a long, long time, and like he's different too. But like Dolce is just like I don't know, muscle on muscle. Like Alon's perfectly built, like everywhere. He's just and he's super flexible. But like Dolce's got like muscles on like tendons. Like it's just stuff that I've never seen before. I'm sure people would agree. Like you see, because he was wearing the leggings, and you're like
Mhm.
at the top of his quad, like there was like a muscle bulging out above his hip flexor, and I'm like, that's not normal. Like other humans don't have that. Like,
Yeah, there's dudes like that,
yeah,
and I wouldn't even be surprised if he told me that he didn't even lift weights. I wouldn't be surprised because there's some dudes that are built like that. They're
yeah.
just born.
Honestly, I've met some guys like that. Like you just they're like, oh, like I mean, look at Francis. I mean, Francis worked in a salt mine. That's why he's the
Yeah.
way he looks. Like, like they're never gonna lift a weight in their life. But the same thing with Bryce Mitchell. He's got like some kind of strength because he works in the farms. He's lifting stuff. He's doing stuff that regular people in the gym. It's just different. It's not functional. So just a different kind of. I grew up when I went to high school in Australia. I was at a boarding school, and all the country kids lived like 6, 7, 8 hours away, but they were all beasts compared to everybody else. They come in, they're all rugby players and stuff, but like physically, when you like tackle them and hold them and get hit by them, you're like, what the fuck are you eating? Like, why are you so much bigger and stronger? And like, so you can see that translating into like the fighters. Same with the wrestlers in Dagestan. Like, it's just that constant grind and holding, and they just got unbreakable grips, and Dalcha's probably off that breed of just crazy DNA bloodline, like, and just has muscles on muscles, but doesn't always work so well for fighting, unfortunately.
Exactly. Fighting is, you got Bryce Mitchell, like you said, he doesn't look like
Exactly.
Dalcha. He doesn't
No.
look nothing like Dalcha. Edson Barboza is a specimen. And
Exactly.
Bryce
Yeah.
Mitchell went in there and just smothered him, right? So fighting is a whole nother game, man. That fatigue, all the fatigue, I think that's the thing that people don't really
That's
factor
the
in.
fighter's number one enemy is fatigue. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where the taps come, fatigue.
Quit.
And you're like, what is it? What's it called? Your mind is racing, and then on top of that, it's confusing you about what's going on probably in the fight. And
Yeah.
then that's when like, your natural like instincts, I guess, to just like go, push that reset button in a way for yourself, because you practice so much, right, as a fighter. And then, the tap is the reset button, right? Just to
Yeah.
start all over so you could practice it again. And
Yeah.
maybe your body can go back to that just automatically. And then afterwards, you see sometimes fighters, like when they tap, they're really disappointed in like that they tap. Like, you remember Chael was talking about that when he tapped
Yeah.
in the
Against
Anderson fight?
yeah.
Anderson.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's
After working, like, that fight was insane, and then
Mhm.
like go like I've said it myself. I remember watching. I was like, go to sleep. You know what? Like, shit. But like, fuck. He probably just thought I get to keep going. Like, it's just one of those. But it's
Yeah.
happened to me too. Like,
Mhm.
there was one like, but like in my mind at that time, like, I got checkmated. Like, that's how I felt, and that's why I tapped, because I tried to find a way out, and I was just like I couldn't. So I was like, I accepted defeat. But the second time out, I was like, I'm not accepting defeat. Like, I have to just go out regardless. I was like, I'd rather his arms gas and I go to sleep. You know what I mean? So it's just a different mindset. And some people, like, Dalcha situation, you just get gassed out, and then you're all of a sudden your muscles are just like starving for oxygen, and all of a sudden, sorry, you don't got none. And then you're like, I need to get the fucking oxygen, So
Yeah.
like, sometimes your body just takes over your mind's will, and panic sets in, adrenaline, all that stuff. The hormones in your body are just insane. Um,
It, that's just something, because fighters, they go into a training camp, of course, for weeks and weeks and weeks to prepare for the fight. So of course they're gonna work on their cardio, and and up their levels in muscle fatigue, or whatever you want to call it. And then when they get in there, some of these guys can't even last a round. I just wonder how that happens. Is it part of the nerves of being in the fight?
I mean,
Is it part of the warm up? Did they warm up too much? Is that even a thing?
so there's many factors, which, like, there are many variables here. So let's start with the weight cut. How'd the weight cut go? Was that a good weight cut? Was that a bad weight cut? Was the weight cut good? Everything was great, but how was the rehydration? That's also another important factor. How is the food? Some people are stupid and eat stupid things and don't feel good the next day, or maybe he wasn't feeling well. There's all these different variables. And then going in, some guys go crazy in the warm up and blow a load, and and then they come out and feel flat. Some people don't do anything at all, and then they come out and feel flat. So there's like, and I can say there are some people maybe have a routine. Everybody's got kind of what they like to do leading up to it, but things can happen that can definitely create something that doesn't feel good going in. Like 9 times out of 10, every fighter that steps into that cage is in phenomenal shape. You go and step into their gym a week before their fights, they'll be going 10, 20 rounds, just busting everyone's ass. Like you'd be like, damn, that guy's cardio is insane. But once you get in the cage, you're not wearing shin pads anymore. You got your, real size gloves on. We're going mano a mano. All of a sudden you've punched or kicked a couple times in the body while you were taking a breath. All of a sudden you're chasing your breath back. If you don't got good control of your breath, all of a sudden you're just worried about getting your breath back for the round. And then you're getting pieced up and all of a sudden you're huffing and puffing and there's a grappling exchange, you're on your back, and all of a sudden everyone's looking at you like, this guy doesn't even have any cardio. And then he just gets finished like that. And then all it takes, I'm telling you, you've been winded before, right? You felt that is one of the worst feelings in the world personally. Like I remember as a kid getting winded and I was like, oh, what is this? I can't breathe. Imagine you're just moving around and all of a sudden you're feeling good and you just get into one exchange and all of a sudden he catches you in the sternum. Not only you got to put a poker face on, you got to pretend, okay, I'm fine and not get fucking slept by the guy in front of me who I'm now struggling to breathe in front of. So there's all these kind of factors that people don't see because they're sitting on their couch like, oh, I would have done that. Well, we don't train. Like that guy looks like shit. But the reality is you can come in there like Lance Armstrong cardio with just incredible everything. And then all it takes is one punch or one shot to the body that just changes everything. And, more often than not, it just looks like nothing. It could be a teep. It could be a grazing kick. It could be the smallest shot that you're like, oh, that was nothing. But all of a sudden he's backing up. He's fatigued, he's worried, and then it just changes the effect of the fight. And for me, like what I've come to kind of learn in my time here in Vegas, it's all about conditioning. And if you take time off from training, it's like you're just letting your body kind of get soft again. And then when you come back to train, you can just get bashed and you'll start to just be like, oh, like I can't take these shots like I'm supposed to. But if you consistently are training every day, getting hit by kicks, getting punched, getting just consistently weeks, months, years, is a perfect example of that is Sean Strickland. He's in my opinion, he's put in the most rounds of sparring of any fighter I've known and I've ever met. He puts in so much sparring. He doesn't do anything else really, wrestling and sparring, but he puts in so much physical conditioning to the body that, when he gets in there with a guy who's like, oh, I was 2 months off and then I did a 8-week camp. But by that time, Strickland's got 2 years of straight sparring on you. And to break him is going to be very hard versus you who kind of come in soft out of camp. So I'm starting to find like that's the thing. And I think consistency is the most important thing. And some fighters like to take big breaks and take time off. And in my opinion, like the window we have to fight is super small. So you have to, unless you're injured, you have to dedicate these years to just conditioning yourself every single day to be ready for short notice fights. Because nowadays, like, you can't come in on these short notice fights and just get smacked because then you're not going to come back. So you just got to be consistently conditioning the body and just working. Because otherwise, these guys who have put in more work than you, the experience, it's there. That's why they have that experience. They've leveled to certain levels that, you're just trying to catch. And if you can't get there with consistent work, then you won't, and then you'll get exposed. So that's one of the things that I've really noticed with Vegas. And that's why like Extreme just has like 85 and up killers, because like they all just constantly batter each other to get better, and it's showing.
Yeah, definitely. Now it's becoming to a point where you remember we've been boxing fans for so long before MMA came along, right? Back in the day. So you would always see the movies and like how boxers would like go into a training camp and lose the weight and get their skills up, and then they go fight, and then after that they let go, and then they do it, like kind of like how Rampage was doing it back in the day, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that anymore. Like
No.
with MMA, there's none of that anymore. If you are doing that and winning fights and winning titles, then you are a enigma. Like just like a freak. Like you're really a freak athlete, just mentally, physically, everything. That's what I'm hearing more from fighters now. It's just like you have to do it continually. There's no like, oh, I'm gonna take 3 weeks off, I'm gonna take a month off of not training, unless you're injured, and that's limiting your movement. You have to just train every day. You have to go to class every day, like jiu-jitsu, something, striking, hit mitts, something. You got to keep going, right?
Absolutely. Like I know that like firsthand. Like I've my last year, this past year has just been like, with personal stuff and just, I'd had to go and travel overseas when like deep down, I'm like, I knew that like it was going to affect me because I needed to be training consistently, you know, but I was like, I had to take care of personal things. And it was just one of those things, like looking back, I was just like, you know, like just having time off when I could just be getting better, you know, and there's other people getting better. So it's just one of those things, like getting past injuries and just making sure that my only focus is just getting better. And like I said, the examples that I see here in Vegas is just, it's, you know, I see it on a daily basis. So it's not like a very complicated exam that I have to study for. It's like, I know exactly what I got to do. So it's just about staying consistent and you feel great. Like that's the thing. It's like, what a great feeling to go into a fight and be like, oh, this is just like another sparring day, you know, and then, you know, I can maybe have like a, you know, a good meal or whatnot. But for the most part, like, for me myself, I keep myself in weight. Like I'm never over 20 pounds of my fighting weight. You know, I know a lot of guys come in much heavier, and I like to just stay light and just make sure that I'm ready to go. Because like you said, the phone call can come and you got to be ready. And nowadays it's like, you just don't know what's going to happen. So these opportunities come, you got to be ready. You don't want to be like, oh, I've heard it myself. I've seen it. Like guys are like, oh no, I'm too heavy right now. And I'm like, dude, why? You know, you're in Vegas. Like if you were living in like Milwaukee or living in Chicago or something like that, it'd be different. But like you're literally in Vegas. Like you can get called tomorrow. You need to be on the scale, you know? So these are the kind of opportunities that I see a lot of fighters get ready for. So I'm like, yeah, just be ready.
Well, you did it, man. You had COVID, and then you got the call, and
Yeah.
then you just like, man, I gotta go to the mountains, run and get this stuff out my lungs, and go in there and perform. And so you know
Yeah.
exactly how it is, like to have like everything stacked against you, but still just like, okay, I gotta take my chance when my chances come, because it might not come again, or it might not come for a long time, and
For
you gotta
sure.
do it, man. So yeah, so there's some other questions in the chat. We'll get to those in a second. I want to kind of go back to the card and talk about some of the fights there. Kennedy, man, he's 42 years old as a
No.
bantamweight, which is like nobody's 42 years old as a bantamweight. And he just got a TKO finish over Chris Montino. Man, it's just amazing to see someone like that age. But he doesn't have that many fights. So you got to kind of think about that too. Because if he was 42 with like 50 fights, then that's a different story. This was his what, 17th? Wait. Oh, it was his like 15th, 16th fight. So it's not like, you know, he was, I don't know what his amateur career was like, or if he was doing kickboxing or whatever, but in MMA, he's only had 15 fights, and he's been with the UFC for pretty much half of that.
Yeah.
And he looked better than ever, man. And maybe it was his opponent. Maybe his opponent
Yeah.
wasn't as good as
Yeah. Well, I
you
mean,
know.
Sean O'Malley couldn't get him out, you know, until
That's what
the
I'm
third,
saying.
you know.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
it's
And
interesting.
Chris, he came in on like days notice, I think, to fight Sean O'Malley too.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
Short
this one,
notice.
he had a full camp. Like
Yeah.
I talked to him. I interviewed him before this fight, and he was talking about like he was working with a new boxing gym at the same time as he was working at his regular gym regiment. And yeah, he just didn't. He looked better in the Sean O'Malley fight.
Yeah, I mean, he looked more aggressive in that fight. He came out very passive against Kennedy. I could see he was trying to be like very like suave with his boxing, like kind of like pity patter him apart, but he was just kind of like he would hit him and just be there, and like his footwork wasn't there, which it wasn't against O'Malley, and he was just like he just kind of looked like, I bet you, I mean, I don't know for a fact, but if you were to talk to him, I felt like he looked like he was in a haze. He was just kind of very like just sitting in a haze and was just there to get hit. I think he thought maybe Kennedy would maybe start to fade, and then he would maybe start to out volume him or something like that. But Kennedy hung tough. He was throwing some heavy leg kicks, and then when he came upstairs, he just landed like what, 3 or 4 hooks in a row and just put him out with this, you know, put him out standing.
Barrage.
Yeah, I was impressed. I wasn't really sold on Moutinho personally. You know, from the O'Malley fight, everyone got so excited about it, but I was like, he was just a punching bag for 3 rounds. But you know, he got a big following from it or whatnot, and you know, he was whatever. So the
I
fact
looked
that
like a snake for a second. I was like, this dude got a snake at the house.
no, a stupid cat. But he you know, Kennedy, like I said, 42 years old at 135. He looked great. You know, age is just a number. You know, it's all about how you treat your body and how you look after yourself, and it seems like he's been doing that. So
Exactly.
he's a good performer.
Um, yeah, with with Canetti, man, I'm interested to see what he does next, man. At that age, in that division, which is one of the most stacked divisions in the UFC.
Mhm.
Another fight, um, Miranda Maverick. I mean, she's probably like one of the top prospects coming up in that flyweight division.
For
She was
sure.
on a 2-fight skid, comes in here on short notice and takes out Sabina Mazo, who was also, I think, she was on a 2-fight losing streak.
Yep.
Sabina, she's looked better in previous fights. Miranda looked better than ever,
Mhm.
and got the submission second round. Yeah, second round rear naked choke. Yeah, that was a really good fight, man. That was a really good performance, by her. Maybe some fighters are just better on short notice. Just give them that 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, they don't got to think about it too much. You know, but no, I think Miranda. She fought Macy Barber. She won that fight. She was robbed in that one. That's a fact. And then the last one was against Erin Blanchfield, who I think is really, really good. And she absolutely shut Miranda down. But Miranda seems like the kind of person that, when something like that happens, she's going to get right on the bike and just grind. And, she's probably been in the gym since that fight. And, once that phone call came, she was like, sure, let's do it. Sabina Mazo is, she comes from a good gym, but she's more of a stand up striker. But she seems to be like lacking in the wrestling department. And unfortunately for her, Miranda took advantage of that. But I felt Miranda was just better than her everywhere.
Yeah, Sabina didn't really look that good on the feet against Miranda. Miranda's was hitting that jab really well,
Yeah,
and coming over the top from it. And Sabina was pretty big compared
yeah,
to
yeah. She's very tall.
Miranda. Yeah, really
That's
tall and long. She didn't use the length. And another thing is Sabina, she's always moving around to different gyms because this time around she was at Glover Teixeira's gym because
yeah,
Glover was in the corner, right? But before that, she was at King's, and I
yeah.
feel like she's been. I don't think you could move around like that.
No, she's trying to
It's
like,
hard unless you're like in a major like one of those like powerhouse gyms and you have your own coaches that come in and then you could spar with guys or bring guys in.
yeah,
That's a different situation. But if you're just switching gyms like that, it's I don't
yeah.
know. It's tough for a fighter to get their groove.
I don't know. Like again, in my like for example, if I was advising her in her situation, the first thing I would have gone was go to a gym where she can wrestle. Like
Mhm.
I don't know if there's much wrestling in Connecticut. It was more maybe jujitsu. But in my opinion, like someone like her, like she would just need to be focusing on her wrestling. And I'm the same boat,
Mhm.
coming from a striking background. So that's been, part of the reason why I work with Frank for so much time is just trying to improve my wrestling, get those wrestling looks. So I don't know if she was getting that. It didn't seem like it, to be honest with you. There weren't many situations that indicated that she was kind of knowledgeable in it, but you know, we'll see what happens in her future. Maybe this is something that now she'll realize this is what I need to work on. Fighters sometimes we're difficult. We don't always see what's the right thing in front of us, and sometimes we just need advice from the right people. And sometimes people give us bad advice, and we do stupid stuff. And she could be advised by the wrong people. But in my opinion, she needs to just be wrestling.
And then after that fight, it was Damon Jackson versus Kamala Kirk.
Mm.
Kamala Kirk, I think. Where does he train out of? Extreme? Is he Extreme?
No, he's from Arizona. I'm not
Is he
sure.
Lab? Oh, he's fight ready. That's
Yeah,
right. He's fight
yeah,
ready.
yeah.
Santos, or what is his name?
Huda's gym.
Santino was in his corner. Yeah. But Damon Jackson, man, like he's kind of very similar in skill set to Kirk. Like they're both good on the ground, but you saw the levels of
Yeah,
the
but
takedowns. Yeah.
the problem with Kirk is like, and I think Jackson mentioned it, is he's a jiu-jitsu black belt, and a lot of jiu-jitsu black belts settle on their backs.
Mhm.
And usually when they do that, they think they can go for submission, especially against wrestlers who always have top control. So going in, and I know Damon Jackson is just an absolute, grinder. He just keeps pushing. He doesn't get tired. So it was one of those. So I actually thought going in, Kirk would have the advantage striking, but
Mhm.
he was fighting very like one punch and like also very passive. If he had been more aggressive to the intensity that Damon Jackson was coming, he may have been more successful. Like the knees and stuff like that were kind of working for him. But as soon as Damon was able to get him down, I didn't think Damon would submit him, but But I thought, if he took him down, he would probably grind out his decision. But that was a very good performance from Damon. And I like him because he's one of those guys that came out of the UFC and was able to get back in. So,
Yeah.
his story is always something cool to follow.
Yeah, that's always cool to see guys that, was in UFC, left UFC, come back. We seen a guy get into UFC, leave, come back, leave, come back. So it's never, the door is never shut. You can continue, you can come back, and that third time might be the time where it's your best
Yeah.
self. And you've seen it with Julia Arosa, man. Like, he's fighting
Yeah.
better than ever.
Yeah.
And it's his third run in the UFC. So people try to, you know how it is online, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm a fighter, I probably would never be online, because unless I'm just posting stuff to like kind of promote stuff, or like just like maybe just share some stuff about like what I'm doing. But other than that, I don't think I'll be like commenting back to people. And especially Twitter is just
Oh, yeah. It's
just the
brutal.
asshole of the world right there. You know what I mean? Just deep,
Yeah.
dark, and nasty. But yeah, like Damon Jackson, he's a guy that got rid of all this social media for a while because
Yeah.
of that reason. And
Yeah.
then he just came back on social media recently. But I think it's a balance of like what you need to do. But Damon Jackson is such a good guy, man. I've interviewed him a few times throughout the years, and ahead of this fight actually. And he was telling me, "Hey, I want to have that Forrest Griffin blah 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 fight." And I told him, "Man, you're not gonna have that, man. You know you're gonna go to the ground and try to take this dude's neck." And he's like, "Yeah, you're right, you're right." But I like to talk a big talk and shit. And I was like, "All right, that's cool." But he'll eventually have that one of these times. He'll probably run into some guy that'll just, he won't be able to take to the ground, and you have to stand and bang with him. But it wasn't tonight, man.
Yeah.
I saw this happening, man. I saw Jackson going in there. He's so good on the ground, and eventually you'll run into somebody as you level up in competition that you won't be able to submit, and we'll see what happens with him. What's next? Trevin Jones, he went in there against Javid Basharat, the Afghanistani guy,
Mhm.
undefeated. Yeah, he's like
Yep.
12-0 now. He looks legit, man. Like,
Yeah.
this was his UFC debut. Trevin's no joke either, man. And he went in there and outstruck Trevin. And he looked, one thing about it, he looked real comfortable in there,
Yeah.
Javid. Like,
Mhm.
real
Very
comfortable.
relaxed. Mhm.
Yeah, and looks like he has a pretty good chin too, because he took some shots from Trevin and just ate those
Definitely.
and pushed forward, right?
Definitely. Trevin came and he brought it, and no, Basharat put on a good performance. I'd seen him around. He'd stuck in Vegas since his Contender Series performance, and I'd seen him around the PI, so I knew he was putting in work. At Extreme, and I'd heard some things about him. So yeah, I was actually looking forward to this fight, and he put on a great performance. Very clean striking, good distance management. Good variety of different strikes, and yeah, I also think he has quite a few submissions on his record too. So he seems to be quite well rounded. Yeah, definitely another good addition to the 35. I think his brother as well also fought, so he got a finish as well. So maybe he'll be making his debut soon. So yeah, those guys, promising additions, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. You know, with that 35 division, like we were talking about earlier,
Mhm.
I feel like it's a Shark Tank. So if
Yeah,
you lose two in a row, you might not be around for long, man, because they're just trying to bring people in, or
yeah.
just kind
There's
of
a
like
lot of
survival of
support.
the fittest situation. So we'll see what happens with Trevin. But I think Trevin is exciting enough to where
Yeah,
they're gonna keep him around for a while. What about JJ Aldrich and Jillian Robinson? Jillian Robinson also stepped in on short notice. She does that
yeah.
a lot. And
Mhm.
the one thing about her that was very apparent in this fight, if she can't get the fight to the ground,
Yeah,
she's gonna lose.
for sure. Yeah.
And
Yeah, no, it's just with Jillian, her striking, like in my mind, like I know she's very active in the grappling circuit. She's always seems to be competing, grappling, which is great. But I just feel like she hasn't developed her striking at all since the beginning that she's arrived in the UFC. I just see no pop in her punches. I just feel like any girl could just say, I can stand right in front of you and take your shots, as long as I got to worry about you pulling guard or trying to shoot. And even her wrestling, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but her wrestling's not there either. She pulls people into her guard and then works from there. It's a very dangerous game to play, especially you go up against a girl that's stronger than you or just well versed in that world as well. And JJ, she comes from a great camp. She works with a lot of, Miranda Maverick, another one of them. And in my opinion, Miranda is much bigger and stronger. So, you work with someone like that on a daily basis, she's going to have no issue keeping the fight standing. And I've always actually kind of respected JJ Aldridge's striking. I've watched her from the beginning in the UFC, and I've always thought she puts nice combinations together. She's got good hands. And she put it all together really well today. She basically just shut her out. There was like maybe one part in the fight where she took her back, and I was like, oh no. And then JJ just spun around and just came right on top, and I was like, oh, she's good. Like, she got nothing to worry about. So yeah, no, it was a good performance from JJ Aldridge. And yeah, for Jillian, I just think she needs to, get into a boxing gym or something, just put some pop in those hands, because then people could be worried about something else instead of her just trying to get under and, get the jiu-jitsu going.
Yeah, the club and sub, I think the ground game is something that we know she has. It's just getting it to the ground. She's taking chances, right?
Yeah.
Penitentiary chances, right? Like, she's getting on her back. It's not a good thing. Every fighter says it. Like, the last option is to pull guard. The last option, right? Because you put yourself in a vulnerable position.
For sure.
And like someone that's very similar to her, but now has added a striking game, and she's took it to the next level, is like Mackenzie Dern.
Facts.
Like, she's adding the boxing with Perillo. She's adding
Yeah.
like her striking.
Yeah.
She has the power. If she hits you,
She's putting
yeah,
in
she
the
could put you on your back.
No, that's true. I mean, you see it, and that's one thing that like I noticed, and like that's one thing I also noticed with Jillian is like, instead of investing so much time on the grappling circuit, which is something that you're really good at, get out of your comfort zone and start investing in your weaker tools, and it'll just round out your game and make you even more dangerous.
Yeah,
But,
JJ, she was on the Ultimate Fighter season 23. She lost to Tatiana Suarez, who's a beast, right? And in that was 2016. She didn't get signed by the UFC, won 2 fights, then got signed, lost her debut, then won 3 in a row, and then kind of traded wins and losses. Now she's on a 3-fight winning streak. The only problem with her is that she doesn't have really any finish. She doesn't have any finishes in her wins. All of her wins are decisions. And that's why she kind of flies under the radar and nobody really pays attention to her. She's going to stay with the UFC, of course, because she's winning and she's not like, in contract disputes or whatever with the UFC, but nobody really talks about her. And I think that's something that she needs to change somehow, right? Either she's going to have to go and try to take more risks and try to go for finishes, or she's going to have to change something in her approach, because I don't know how long. I guess you could stick around the UFC just by winning and just kind of flying under the radar, but I'd rather have something different, create something for yourself to catch the eye of people, right? So
absolutely.
I don't know. Maybe she's just not like that. Maybe she just likes to
She does
train
seem
and
to
fight.
be kind of like, quiet girl. But I mean, from the fights I've watched with her, I mean, on paper she's getting these decisions, but a lot of these fights, like, she's putting hands on these girls and hurting them. It's just like she's not being able to put them away. And I think maybe, this fight was like, short notice, whatnot. But maybe she'll get on another fight soon. She looked fine. She didn't look like she took any injuries, and maybe she'll just go out there and get a big finish and get her name up there, because she's not ranked or anything like that. So she's definitely, I don't think too far, like a good win away from knocking on some ranked girls' doors. So I don't think she's too far from that.
Yeah. Let's look at this. Alex Pereira, right? He was talking some mad shit, right, leading up to this fight. And he wasn't even talking about his opponent. He was just talking about Israel the whole time. Because, of course, the media is going to ask him questions about Israel because he's beaten Israel. He'll knock them out. So, of course, he's going to talk a big talk because he can, and
Absolutely.
And he went in there and, man, he did it. This fight was closer than I think a lot of people expected to be.
Same.
I just expected.
I was worried going in because, you just look at experience alone. The guy is 22-6 coming in against 4-1. World-renowned kickboxer, but still, how is the ground game going to work? And that guy's like, I don't know, was like on a 7-fight win streak or something too. So I was like, this is kind of like, I was kind of nervous going in. I was like, I don't know, like, and I was like, he's kind of talking about other stuff. Like, is he focused? But there were moments in the fight where he was like, he got tested for sure. But he just looked so clean with his striking. But still, I just feel, at this moment, I'm sure there's still going to be some time, but Izzy is just on another level compared to
Yeah.
Pereira at this
He,
moment in time.
two positives here. He's very comfortable in that octagon. Like his striking is looking slick, and he's only going to get more dangerous as the
I
experience
agree.
builds up. Second thing is when he got taken down, he got back up every time.
That is true.
You
Yeah.
know, and that's pretty good. You know, against a guy that wants to stay on the ground if he takes you there, Bruno Silva.
Mhm.
Yeah, he got the unanimous decision, but a lot closer. I expected him to go in there because there's like this pool that you pick. You know, I'm in a pool that you pick like who can get the fastest finish
Uh-huh.
on a UFC card, and
Right.
my pick was Alex Pereira because I
Uh,
thought these dudes because I thought Bruno was gonna go in there and try to slug it out with him.
yeah.
You know, and then Alex would just be like, and
There,
hit that counter
there
and knock him
there
out.
were moments where I thought like, oh, Pereira's about to finish him, but like
Yeah.
it just didn't come, and I was like, damn it.
Definitely didn't come. And yeah, so they're probably just gonna tee him up against another guy that's kind of like Bruno Silva, you know, build him up because I think the win streak is so important. Because
Yeah,
if he would have knocked out Bruno, then they would have probably gave him somebody that's like a decent name
yeah.
and kind of just threw him into the fire. But I feel like they shouldn't do that. I feel like they should give him somebody
He's
that
five
he
and
could.
one now, so I'm thinking like they'll give him like maybe 2 or 3,
Mhm.
and then they might push him pretty big if he can get through. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see who they match up, and it'd be another interesting thing is if people are gonna want to sign up to fight him. You
Yeah,
know, that'll
that
be
is.
another thing.
There's always somebody wanting to fight him. Because he's gonna bring certain amount of attention. So,
85ers. I mean, first of all, he's gonna want to avoid any high level wrestlers.
mhm.
You know, and then at 85, I mean, we think he's gonna. You think Brendan Allen will take him? I think Brendan Allen might.
Yeah, I think that's a good fight
Yeah,
because you know when you look at it, 185. You know, Brendan Allen's not ranked, but he's a guy that will step in there against anybody. That's a good fight.
I think
A good if they really wanted to kind of build him, a good stylistic matchup would be Edmund Shabazian for
true,
Alex Pereira,
true. I
and
feel bad
Edmund's
for
sitting at
that
15.
poor guy.
Yeah, he's been thrown to the lions, dude,
Yeah.
like
Give
instantly.
him a little bit of time. Give him a little
Mhm.
some time before he
Yeah.
gets.
I think Brendan Allen is a way tougher fight though than
Then Edmund,
Edmund.
yeah, because he's more dangerous on the ground for him for sure.
Exactly,
And Edmund's
and he
tough
could
to
catch
box.
you. Yeah, with the boxing, he got hands. Like he could catch you, right? We
True,
saw it against Sam Alvey, right?
that's
Did he
true.
catch Sam Alvey or did he submit him? I think
No,
he caught him, right?
Allen finished him with strikes. Yeah,
Yeah, strikes, right? Yeah, so he got hands. He got a
yeah.
little bit of power there.
I think I
Yeah.
personally though, like so from what I saw, like in the Pereira fight, he doesn't move his head well. Like he obviously has great kickboxing and stuff, but I think someone like Edmund has good boxing. So like
Mhm.
if he can weather his kicks, like he can put hands on his head, like for sure. And I could see Pereira didn't like it. Like he wasn't comfortable getting hit by Silva on multiple occasions. He didn't like it. So someone like Edmund like could like volume box him like for sure because Pereira ain't shooting for takedowns. So if Edmund can mix in some takedowns, and I think he could create some problems for Pereira, honestly.
Yeah, those are good fights, man. Let's go to the co-main event: Marlon Moraes versus Song Yadong. Song Yadong is like one of the brightest prospect slash contenders in that bantamweight division. Marlon now he's on a 4-fight losing streak. He's lost 5 out of his last 6,
Yeah,
all by knockout.
yeah,
All by knockout. And this last camp, he went out to Thailand to Tiger Muay Thai, training with the people out there with Peter and kind of like latched on with John Boy, and John Boy can work some magic. It
yeah.
just seems like Marlon just can't take the punches like he used to,
No,
and that's what happened because he did look crisp, he did
yeah,
look slick, and he always does in the beginning of fights, right? And it
great.
didn't seem like cardio was going to be an issue this time around because if you train in Thailand, I don't really see many guys that train in Thailand have issues with cardio. Have
No,
you? I don't really see it too much.
outside always. So you're already battling that when you arrive. So it's like no excuse. But no, it's just like you see it with fighters, man. Like you can only be KO'd so many times, and then like once it's kind of like once that seal breaks, it's like you
Mhm.
can't fix it, you know. And it just seems like when people get touched, they just go out. And unfortunately, you know, Marlon is, you know, he's on that streak, and it's like not looking good. You know, that's, you got to look at your health in that regard, and who knows where he goes from here. But for Song Yadong, man, he looked awesome, you know, and it's nice. I mean, in a way, to finally see like success coming out of China for a Chinese fighter, because I feel like a lot of the Chinese fighters have been, you know, pulling duds, and you know, they can't really jump on anyone or put anyone forward as a star. But it looks like Song Yadong is going to be that star for China, and I think he can definitely make a run for it, man. He's young, he's super athletic, he's, you know, very well rounded, and I think he definitely has what it takes to bring, maybe be the first male you know, Chinese champ in the UFC.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they've been shooting duds for a second. So
Yeah,
Song Yadong is he has the talent, man, and
for
he's
sure.
young, which is important too. I think Marlon, to be honest with you, I think he should just take 1 year off. You know, like kind of like how Ortega did after he
Uh-huh.
went through the wars.
Yeah,
And I feel like Marlon, talent wise, he still has the talent.
of
I
course.
think he should just not spar and just train, work
Heal.
on skills. Maybe just stay out in Thailand for 1 year, take his family there, and just like live the life of just training out there and don't spar. You know, get his brain back to normal if he can, and
Yeah,
see what happens. Like, you know, he took his gloves off, and people were like, "Oh, is he retired?" Just because someone took their gloves off doesn't mean that they retired.
for
You
sure.
know, it's just they just took their gloves off. Maybe their hands didn't feel good. You know what I mean? Maybe he
Yeah,
broke his hand. Who knows what happened? Um,
absolutely.
you know, like when Dan lost to Chandler, it's like, oh, he took his gloves off. You know, it's like, come on, dude. Like, I
No,
think Marlon should take some time off. I think he should take like a year off of just kind of like get away from the limelight and just train and work with John Boy in Thailand and work with Tiger Muay Thai, the coaches out there, get his fitness back. And then when he's ready, you know, after a year, get matched up with someone. And I
mhm.
don't think the UFC should cut him. I think they should, you know, use him, you know, accordingly. If it's for stepping stone purposes, but I feel like he should get another chance, man. I think he still has talent. He's definitely still has the skill and power to do it. It's just
I
if
agree,
he comes back and loses again, because look at Cody, you know what I mean? Like Cody's lost so many times by knockout,
for
but
sure.
he's still coming back. And I think he's another guy that should probably just take some time off and work on his skills. And it looks like that's what he's trying to do now, you know, in Vegas. I believe
Yeah,
he's out in Vegas right now.
yeah,
So
yes. He's training out at Extreme. Yeah, seeing him at the
but
PF.
the thing about Thailand is like you're so far away from Vegas that
Yeah.
you never can be lured into like anything, because in Thailand you're like isolated and there's no
Mhm.
UFC shows. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
yeah,
you can't be
not
like
number.
calling
Yeah,
you
yeah.
on short notice and be like,
Oh,
or
for
oh,
sure,
we got
for
this.
sure,
You know, I'm not
for
talking about the other stuff. You know, I'm not talking about the other stuff.
sure.
You know what it is. But
Yeah,
I'm saying like that. You know, like
yeah, yeah,
blur. You know, because when you're in Vegas, you see guys going and performing and coming back and they're celebrating. That kind of gets into you, you know, and you're like, oh, I need to get back in there, right? But if
mhm.
you're in Thailand, that's limited. So
Yeah,
maybe it could be separated and kind of go Buddhist monk style. And
yeah. No, I
you
agree.
know, I would love to see it. I would love to see it. Like I'd never give up on fighters, and you'll never see me typing anything on like retirement for a fighter. I would never say it because their decision. It's
Yeah,
like someone telling me to retire from doing what I love to do. It's like, what are you talking about? Like,
yeah. Who are
who
you?
are you
Yeah,
to tell me to retire? You
for
know,
sure.
like what do you know about what I'm doing? What do you know about me? You know what I mean? Like you don't know shit.
I
Like
agree.
you're just sitting there judging somebody from, you know, they have the hardest jobs in the world, and you're sitting there with the easiest job in the world, which is nothing. You
Yeah,
know, and telling them someone to retire. It's like, because
no.
you know, I'll give you an example of like Andre Arlovsky. Remember when he was getting, and heavyweight division is the division where you don't want to be knocked out a bunch of
Oh
times,
yeah,
right?
oh yeah,
And now look at him.
yeah.
He's
He's a
not getting knocked out. He's winning
pro.
fights, smart, fighting
Yeah,
much more
I mean,
intelligently and
he's
making cash,
yeah,
making money.
he's like, I love Arlovsky, and like he's a smart dude, and he just like basically reevaluated himself. And I think a lot of it was like mental. He went through a lot of like battles mentally, but he was speaking with a sports psychologist, and I think that helped him to just kind of like reevaluate everything, and it changed his game completely. And I love the way he fights. He fights so smart, and he's still winning and making money, and it's just it's awesome to see. Like it just gives you like it shows you like it does, like you just said, there's no like fighters are just like any like we can evolve just like anything else and in any other sport. Like you see some players come out and they're nobodies, and then 3-4 years all of a sudden they're stars of the league. And it's the same thing in fighting. Like once you get to a certain level, everything just kind of connects, and then you're just everything is just on fire for you, and then everybody has like I guess a different start date, or it's just that's life. There's no constant up. It's just like ups and downs.
Yeah.
It's just like trying to
There's
find
moments where it's like just like just going in a straight thing, and then there's moments that go up and then down and go. Look at Kurt Warner, man. Kurt Warner was bagging groceries.
It's true.
And I think a year later, he was like 2 years later, he was a Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Like that is insane, right? Like stuff like that. And in fighting, things can happen like that to anybody. You know what I mean? Because if you're up there in that high level, you're talented. It's just like putting the pieces together. And Kurt Warner, he got set up with his skill set of as a quarterback with the right receivers and the offense and the coaches, and then they just went straight to the Super Bowl and won the whole damn thing.
Exactly.
That happens in fighting too. How many fighters you've probably ran into where they're super talented and they're crazy in the gym, but they just don't have the discipline and then the coaches around them to make them into like a UFC level fighter, because they're always talking about the UFC, but they just don't have that surroundings, right?
For sure. No, absolutely. It happens to many people. It's not easy to get to that level. A lot of pieces have to be in play to, and even if that's the case, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be, a guarantee. So, it's a crazy thing. Like it's just, that's life. You just got to, subconsciously just believe, keep working, and your opportunities will come. And just being positive through it, even though it's like losing is the worst thing, but you learn a lot about yourself in those times. And it's like, and I think like, it's the most cheesy shit. Oh, with every loss, like, you learn so much, with the win, you don't. But, with that, it's true, man. Like you feel so low. Nobody likes to lose, but it's about that growth. It's about like, okay, just being real with yourself. Like, what the fuck's the problem right now? Why am I losing? Like in being real, okay, that's the problem. Let's address it. Not like, oh no, I'm amazing. It's somebody else's fault. Blame somebody else. Oh, it's my coach's fault. No, it's like that's the beauty of the sport. You can only blame yourself. So you got to go in there and take that on the chin no matter what, and just get better, and that's what makes a difference between a fighter that retires or says I'm done with this and goes and gets a 9 to 5 and just is like, all right, I got to do this, or a fighter that is like passionate about this and is consistently working to accomplish the dreams that they believe they can, and you only have one life, so you might as well fucking do it.
Yeah, Marlon, do that shit, man. I support you. Song Yadong, man, right now he's number 14. He just beat number 10. He calls out number 7, Dominic Cruz. I feel like that's a good fight. I don't think Dominic takes it though. I don't think he takes that fight. I think he wants a bigger name.
He wants someone in front of him.
Yeah.
That's what
nobody wants. I thought like nobody wants to fight Merab.
True.
Who's ranked number 6. Someone needs to call him out. Someone needs to call out Merab. Nobody wants to fight him though. That's because he just has that style.
Hard work. He's hard work.
But Marlon almost put him out in the first round when they fought, and he survived the storm and won the fight. But yeah, it's interesting, man. Let's get into your fight coming up, man. April 2nd. In New Orleans, and all of places, man. New Orleans is like one of those spots that when I lived in the U.S., I never got to go to, that I wanted to visit. Have you been to New Orleans before?
No, that was kind of like, that was the cool thing, me and my career, just always these opportunities to travel to new places. So I'm like, hell yeah, that's dope. So yeah, no, I got that call up, pretty quickly, and I was like, yeah, hell yeah. My manager, Daniel Rubenstein, coming through, and just he basically just messaged me and he's like, all right, well, this is what's happening. Do you want to do it? Yeah, let's do it. Here's the opponent. Let's go. And got a pretty experienced opponent. He's fought regionally. He's fought Big Show, PFL, I think Bellator as well. if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it, man. He's not a wrestler. He's not going for any submission records on me. So I'm pretty sure we're gonna go out and do what I do best. And again, even if he wants to take it to the ground, I'm happy to go there. I've been putting in so much goddamn work down there. I might even do it myself. But I'm just excited to just go out and perform. I feel like my last two fights, as healthy as I came out of them, I just didn't get to fight. I didn't get to perform. I didn't get to do what I feel like a lot of people enjoy watching me do. So, it's going to be fun. XMMA, I think it's their fourth show. There's going to be like, I don't know, 8 or 9 other former UFC fighters on the card. So there's going to be a lot of high level talent. I believe it's going to be streaming on YouTube. So once I get closer to the day, I'll be posting all that information. So you guys can definitely tune in. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm just ready to get back in the win column and get the ball rolling. Start knocking on the doors of these bigger shows again.
Yeah, XMMA 4 Black Magic. They've been putting on some good shows, since they've, become who they've become. A lot of like you said, a lot of high level ex UFC, up and comers, contender series guys, matching them up. And I kind of look at it as like who can get bounced back and get re-signed type
Mhm.
cards. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of, challenges here. Like there's big like matchups that I'm gonna watch this card, man. And it's like
Sure,
a regional show in a way,
for
but
sure.
really it's not. It's kind of like
Yeah, like you
a
got some
it's better than the contender series, to be honest with you.
yeah,
It's like,
Curtis
it's like they're
Millender and
doing it.
Jared Gooden. Like that could be on a Bellator card for sure. You know what I mean?
Exactly, man. Like John Dodson versus Francisco Rivera is the main event.
Yeah.
And then you got like John Howard's on there.
Mhm.
Um what is it, Cal Stewart? There's a lot of guys, dude. Like
Zach
there's some
Otto.
interesting,
Yeah, yeah, no,
interesting matchups, man.
some good ones for
Really
sure.
crazy.
No, they
Um,
did well. Like I think a lot of I guess you guys media are like surprised. Whoa, XMMA got these guys. Like it's pretty good. Um,
it is, man. I'm gonna have to start like reaching out to people to start doing interviews for this one because it's coming up soon. April, right? So we got a little bit
April
of
2nd.
time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, April 2nd. So yeah, man, get this win and then get
Yes.
on that Singapore card. Why
That would
not?
be dope. That would be actually pretty cool. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah,
No, we'll
man.
see. I mean, like basically from Sean Shelby was basically just like go out there and bang out a couple wins and you'll be right back here. So that's what I'm gonna go and do.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there.
Yeah, you're still so young in your career too, man. Like
I know.
this is
I feel
only
like I've
your
barely
11th fight.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah, it's just like I haven't. I've like my the crazy thing is the beginning of my career, I had like so many pullouts. Like nobody wanted to fight, so like I had like almost 2 years of just nothing happening because I had a Russian name and I came from a tough gym. That's it. So it was really hard for me to get going, and then like even even fighting in Asia was just kind of like, oh yeah, like you want to fight? I was like, yeah, like if I can. It was just always hard to get fights, and then obviously signing with Danny and coming out to the States. And then I was just like, boom, I'm in the UFC. So it was like, obviously, I love the experience. Everything was good. Like, there was nothing that I felt like, I was out of my place. But obviously, my performances weren't where they needed to be in the last
Mm.
two. I'm not an excuse guy, but I wasn't just who I was supposed to be in those fights. And it's a good, like I said, good learning experience. And I think it's going to be even sweeter. Like I felt like I got there and I was like, yeah, I'm here. But even in my own mind, I was like, am I really here? Like, do I deserve to be here? Like, have I put in like the work? I thought like I needed to fight myself regionally a couple times in the States before. That's how I thought. But with COVID and how everything played out, I was obviously grateful. But like even now, I'm like, now I feel good that I'm going to go out, get some regional wins, and then I'll be able to just jump back right in and just keep consistent. Like I said, it's just staying consistent, keeping the mindset. Like I'm now like I'm ready for 4 years of this. This is like college, like just this. Like let's just focus on this only and see where we can go with it. And yeah, I'm excited. Like I love to perform. Like this, just going out into an event. I'm hoping that there should be people there. I'm excited to fight in front of people. Like that's one thing that I also really missed was fighting in front of a crowd. Like the last crowd I fought in front of was in Korea. That was a while ago in
Yeah.
2019. So I really
Yeah.
get a big boost from people watching, the crowd, the energy. So that's one thing I'm excited for. go out to New Orleans, see a new place, network, meet some new people, and then yeah, just see what's next. Hopefully jump back into something really quickly, and then like I said, get back to the big show.
Yeah, pretty much chapter 3 of your book as your career, right? Chapter 1 was before the UFC. Chapter
Yeah,
2 was the first run with the UFC. Now it's chapter 3. You know, then you go to chapter 4 when you return to the UFC. You know what I mean? It's always good to see the development of, the story of fighters. You know what I mean? Because every fighter has a different story, man. Like, look at Brandon Moreno. Look at
oh yeah,
Brandon Moreno.
oh yeah, he's definitely an inspiration. Like he's
Yeah, he's an inspiration for anybody. Like,
ever. Like I seen him in the PI so much, talked to him. He's such a cool guy, and same thing. Like that's the thing. A lot of people were like, "Oh my God, like, are you okay?" Being released from UFC, and I'm fine. Like I don't see like it's a bummer, but it's like at the end of the day, like I'm so grateful for the opportunity that they gave me, and it's like if I get that opportunity to go again, I'm gonna still be happy. Like some people are so bitter with the UFC, like like I didn't get paid enough. Like fuck the UFC. It's like look, they gave me an opportunity. I took that opportunity and took the most of it, and then I also got more opportunities, and I failed to take those opportunities. So like it was in nobody's court except mine. You know what I mean? And I hate these people that blame everybody else. Oh, this, that, and the other. It's like, oh, you have the opportunity to make more money in this game. Like you just got to go out and win. And it's like that's the blueprint. You don't have to bullshit or kiss ass. It's like that's what it is. So I wasn't able to do it on my last two, and I know that. Like, and I know 9 times out of 10, like the result is way different, and it's just one of those things. It's like okay, it's not even that big a deal. The most important thing is being healthy, and the most important thing is being able to continue doing the same thing you like to do every day. If you love to train and compete, then continue doing it, and that's what I'll continue to do until the day that I hate it or the day that I'm like, dude, I suck. I shouldn't be doing this. Like that's when I'll stop. But for the reality is, if I'm styling on people in the gym and having a good time and just loving it, then I'm gonna continue to do it until people like legit line up and tell me like I cannot watch you fight anymore. You hurt my eyes. Then maybe I'll be like, all right, I'll stop fighting, guys. But for the most part, I think it's pretty fun, and I think when I get to do what I plan to do, it's pretty entertaining. So
yeah, man, keep doing it, man. I still remember when we first met. Like, I don't remember, like it was in that basement of that hotel, and then I was like, "Hey, let's do an interview," and we just did the interview like right outside the hotel, like in that like open air area or whatever, like that. Those are the things you never forget. You know what I
there
mean?
was like some like grass stuff behind us. I
Yeah,
remember
yeah, for sure, man.
it was
Yeah,
cold as fuck. I remember.
yeah. It was winter, and yeah, man. So do your thing, man, and we'll see, man. Hopefully you'll be heading back over to this side of the world soon, if
I need
possible.
to. Yeah, I hope Hong Kong get their senses
Yeah.
together because I haven't been home in 3 years, so I need to get back so I can keep my permanent residency. Uh, but we'll see. We got the Bang Tao gym opening in Thailand, so that's definitely going to give me a reason to go out there. I'll definitely like to spend some time in Thailand, and then I go see my family in Hong Kong if possible. And then who knows? If there's an opportunity to fight, maybe Angel's gonna give me a call, defend that belt.
Yeah.
You
You
never,
never know.
you
Maybe
never.
you're gonna visit, and train at Bang Tao, and then all of a sudden, someone pulls out in Singapore, and you're like, "Hey, I'm here, like 30-minute flight from
Hey,
Singapore."
if there's one thing that I'm happy about is like I've got a great manager. So
Yeah,
like
they will call you instantly. I know that. They'll just
exactly.
be like,
So
"Where you at?"
yeah. So I'm not too worried, honestly. Like my most focused thing now is just be consistent in
Yeah,
my training. Like that's
for
it.
sure.
I just when the phone call calls, and that's to be honest with you, short notice and that kind of shit is like normal for me now. So I'm like just imagining that I'm fighting. Imagine I'm a Thai fighter fighting every week, and just stay on that mentality and then just see what happens. Because like now I'm healthy. I got on. It was actually my last fight. Going into that fight, I tore my hamstring, and it was like pretty shitty dealing with it. And then, but thankfully for the PI, like for 4 months after that fight, they basically like stem cells, and they hooked me up with all this kind of stuff and helped me rebuild and get better. So I got really healthy, and they got me stronger, and I was working a lot in the gym and just working on myself and just to build this back. And now that I'm like healthy, I'm like really. That's why I appreciate the UFC because they've helped me out so much. You know, they could have just like completely just left me on the dirt and just been like, oh, you know, go do your thing. And they actually were still, you know, they kept me around and just made sure that I come back full. And you know, obviously, I wish I would have gotten one more fight on that contract so I could have, you know, proven myself. But you know, I'm gonna come back to get this result on April 2nd and then see what happens.
All right, we got a few minutes left, man. Let's talk about next week's card. Next week we got UFC London, and you know, there's some pretty interesting matchups. You got Gunnar Nelson coming back after like years of
For sure.
disappearing, and he's gonna take on Takashi Sato, who's
Yeah.
a pretty good matchup.
Mm-hmm.
You got of course Dan Hooker and Arnold Allen.
For sure.
You got Paddy Pimblett. He's facing Rodrigo Vargas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do you think of Paddy Pimblett, man? You got Mohamed Makaev making his UFC debut. That's
Yeah,
going to be interesting to watch.
for sure.
Yeah, there's a bunch of like Mike Grundy versus Makwan Amerikani, Jack
Mm-hmm.
Shore, who's another pretty legit prospect in that bantamweight division, undefeated.
Welsh
Got
fella.
a pretty good test. Nathaniel Wood. You know, who if you're gonna make a parlay, this is the question. If you're gonna make a parlay, like let's say a 4-fight parlay,
War fight for
right
London.
now, you know, I know you haven't studied anything about the card yet, probably, but right now, if you just looked at it,
Come
oh,
on.
you have, okay,
Yeah, I
okay,
took a look. I took a look.
you know, what would be the 4-fight parlay like? Who would you pick, like straight up, like win, lose?
I'll go Aspinall.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever he ends up fighting, it might not even be Volkov. We don't know.
Yeah.
I'll go Paddy Pimblett.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go Topuria,
Mm-hmm.
Ilya Topuria, and I'll go Jack Shore. I can't believe he's dog money. He's an
That's
underdog.
crazy, right?
Yeah,
That's
against
crazy, man.
Timur Valiev. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Jack
But
Shore can grapple his ass off too,
he's
and
good
stick
everywhere.
to you. Yeah, he's good everywhere.
Good everywhere. Yeah. Also, I would add. We can do 5. I would add Mokaev to that as well.
Yeah, Makaev is a beast, man. Yeah, I'm
No, it's a good
I'm
card.
so interested to see like how he performs, you know, because he's had that long amateur career and he's just
Yeah.
killed people in Brave and all that. But when you go to the
I've had,
UFC, it's just different.
I've had discussions about him, and I just feel like his pedigree of wrestling is just too high level for
Yeah,
Cody.
and he's pretty smart too.
Yeah, I mean, he's been getting ready for this moment for a long time, and I feel like he'll rise to the occasion. I feel like put in a
Do
good
you think
performance.
Paddy Pimblett is getting the Sean O'Malley treatment?
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's
Absolutely.
getting that, like,
Oh
just
yeah.
getting like, because Jared Gordon, he called him out, and then they were going back and forth, and that fight was supposed to happen, but then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
this guy, like Rodrigo Vargas, you know, respect to him for taking the fight, but I feel like if he loses this, he's gone from the UFC.
True.
You know,
Yeah. No. I mean, of course. I mean, Pimblett came in with like almost 1 million followers right off the bat. UFC loves that, so they're gonna want to keep him around. And he had like a ton of hype, you know, coming in. So of course they're gonna keep that train rolling. He's bringing in the UK viewers. Darren Till isn't anymore, so Paddy Pimblett is kind of taking over that role and responsibility. Maybe Aspinall can. With another good performance, but he's like quiet, you know.
yeah,
Paddy has such a big personality, so they love that. So of course they're gonna support that as long as they can.
yeah. He's trying to he says things to get himself, you know, in the news cycle, and people are starting to pick it up. And Sean O'Malley's already doing it with his podcast. You know, every time he like, you know, you see it probably, you probably see it. He's like,
I
Sean O'Malley says
I
this
don't.
on his
Yeah.
podcast.
I don't watch the podcast, but I
No,
see
I
like
don't watch it.
articles about
Yeah.
what he says. Yeah.
Yeah. Like me, you know, of course I'm part of the media or whatever, but I'm not sitting there listening to people's podcasts and trying to write articles off it.
Yeah.
That's just not what I want to be doing with this
No,
sport. You know, I mean, that's just not
for
the
sure.
angle that I'm taking.
That's just gossip. You know what I mean? Like,
And you know, and it's part of the game now. It's part of the game. Like
of course.
you could just say things that are just gonna get a reaction out of other people, which is probably not what you really think half the time, but you're just trying to get a reaction. And I do it sometimes on Twitter just to get reactions out of people. Like I put out tweets and I'm just like, how did this even just get like 1,000 likes? And it's just the
Yeah.
dumbest. And people take it seriously. Like they really think that that's how I feel about
Yeah.
something. I'm just like, yo, it's Twitter. It's like
I mean,
fake
it's so
news.
personal. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like it's
really,
odd to me.
really.
To be honest with you, like I like kind of was like I want to be more like away from that. I just kind of want to like get my input a little bit, but
Mhm.
like yeah, it's just my experience has been positive. Like most people that when they interact with me, they're really nice. They wish me the best. Like I don't get a lot of hate, but that's the one thing is like I don't want to get involved in that because I know I can say one thing. Literally, I know I can. I'm
Mhm.
intelligent enough to say like one comment on my Twitter that literally can pick up and just people will just shit the bed with it. Like
Yeah.
and just create all kinds of drama. But what's the point? Like it really doesn't do much for me. It like blows up my phone. It takes my attention away from things that are actually productive for me.
Yeah.
Maybe if I get myself to a point where I'm like, I'm a bigger name or people really want to know what my opinion is, then maybe I'll put more input. But for the most part, tune into this shit to get to know me. You know what I mean? This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
this
for
is
sure.
the better thing than what I'm tweeting about. And Strickland's made a name for himself on Twitter, and he's really being able to speak his mind. And sometimes I feel like, man, I really want to speak my mind too, but at the same time, we talk about writing these books. How are we going to sell these books if
Mhm.
everyone knows our information, right? So, you know, gotta
That's
keep it
true. That's
keep
true.
it on the
That's true.
DL. So it got to be a little bit more mysterious for the people.
Yeah, that's what Khalil was talking about earlier. You know what I mean? Like he has the story. He doesn't put everything out there for everybody because why? He has a story to tell. But anyways, XMMA 4 Black Magic, April 2nd, New Orleans. If you can go there, buy tickets. It's a crazy show.
The
If you
Fillmore.
can't, it'll be on YouTube. I'll be watching. Sasha will be performing. Appreciate everybody for watching the show. We'll be back next week. Sasha might be back. I don't know. It might be somebody else. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Everybody take care, and we'll catch you guys on the flip.